You've probably spent a lot of time scrolling through endless specs, scrolling past the hype, and wondering if you'll end up with a TV that looks amazing on the demo floor but turns into a daily frustration at home. What you really need is something that fits your living room, works with the devices you already own, and gives you a picture you can trust without having to tweak a dozen settings every night. You want a picture that stays bright enough for daytime watching, deep blacks for movies, and a remote that doesn't feel like a relic from the 90s. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The LG 55-inch OLED evo C4 is positioned as a premium 2024 model, but the real question is whether it delivers the reliability and ease-of-use that matter after the box is opened. I spent a few weeks setting it up in a typical suburban living room, a 55-inch wall mount, a soundbar, a game console, and a handful of streaming sticks, and I paid close attention to how it behaved in everyday scenarios rather than just the showroom shine. First off, the installation is surprisingly straightforward. The TV arrives in a single, well-cushioned box, and the included wall mount kit fits the Visa pattern without any need for additional adapters. The Magic Remote, which looks a lot like a sleek TV remote with a built-in pointer, pairs with the TV out of the box. Within a few minutes you have Wi-Fi connected, WebOS up and running, and your favorite apps like Netflix and Disney Plus ready to go. For anyone who isn't comfortable fiddling with hidden menus, the auto setup wizard walks you through network, picture mode, and even calibrates the TV's built-in speakers, which is a nice touch for first-time smart TV owners. The picture is where the C4 starts to justify its price tag. The self-lit OLED pixels give you true blacks. If you've ever watched a dark sci-fi scene on an LCD, you know the difference. The Evo panel adds a brightness booster that lifts the peak luminance to a level that actually holds up in a bright living room with large windows. I tested it with the lights on during a sunny afternoon and the HDR content still looked punchy, especially in scenes with bright outdoor light. Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos support mean that compatible streaming titles and Blu-rays deliver both a wider color gamut and immersive sound when you pair the TV with a decent soundbar. The A9AI processor in the 7th generation does a respectable job of upscaling 1080p material. Sports replays and older sitcoms look sharper without any obvious haloing. For gamers, the 144Hz refresh rate and low input lag are the headline claims, but the actual experience matters more. I hooked up a current-gen console and a PC, enabled the Game Optimizer mode, and the TV responded almost instantly. In fast-paced shooters there was no noticeable motion blur, and the variable refresh rate sync worked without any flicker. The only catch is that you have to manually select the higher refresh rate mode in the settings. The TV defaults to 60 Hz for most streaming apps, which is fine for movies but might surprise a gamer who expects 120 Hz out of the box. Now, let's talk about the everyday quirks that aren't always highlighted in marketing. Because the OLED panel is self-lit, it's susceptible to temporary image retention if you leave a static logo on the screen for a long time. LG includes a pixel shift feature that moves the picture by a few pixels every few minutes, which mitigates the risk, but it's still something to be aware of if you often watch news channels with persistent tickers. Also, the TV's peak brightness, while better than older OLEDs, still doesn't match a high-end QLED when you're trying to watch HDR in a sunlit room for hours on end. If your primary viewing time is in a bright kitchen or a floor-to-ceiling window office, you might notice the picture dimming a bit compared to a dedicated LED. Another practical point is the WebOS interface. It's clean, and the voice control with Alexa built-in works well for basic commands like turn on Netflix or raise the volume. However, the app carousel can feel crowded after you install more than a handful of services. There's a quick access bar at the bottom, but navigating to less used apps sometimes requires a few extra clicks. If you value a minimalist home screen, you may need to spend a few minutes customizing the layout or accept the default. Who should consider the LG 55-inch OLED evo C4? If you love movies, binge-watch series in a dark room, or enjoy high-end gaming and want a TV that can handle HDR with genuine depth, this model is a solid choice. It also fits well for households that already have a decent sound system, because the TV's built-in speakers are adequate but not a replacement for a soundbar. The AI upscaling and smart home integration make it attractive for tech-savvy users who want a single hub for streaming, voice control, and occasional TV watching. Who might skip it? If you primarily watch daytime TV in a bright environment, need a TV that can double